Hello and welcome to the Hellraiser blog. If you enjoyed today's blog, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it on your social media. We love growing the Hellraiser boxing blog. Today's blog, I'm going to look at the upcoming fight between Terence Bud Crawford and Saul Canelo Alvarez. Very interesting and standout fight. It's a fight really that I think is going to be a crossover fight, and Bud Crawford deserves that because he's had a really a standout career, and in boxing circles certainly he's very well known, but he hasn't really broken out of that bracket of famous boxers that are known in more widely in the sporting sort of world. That's not because of lack of talent, because I can tell you, I mean, he can box. I first came across him from someone sent me a clip of him. He boxes southpaw, but I love boxers that can go southpaw or orthodox, switch, and box competently or equally as well in both. I'd say Crawford is probably a little bit better as a southpaw. His jab, his right-handed jab, is a work of art, and I think he'll need that here to keep Canelo at bay and to buy himself some time so he can use his quick feet to escape the pressure that Canelo is going to put on him. Canelo is an absolute expert at suffocating opponents, at cutting down the ring space, battering them to the body. We've seen him against Billy Joe Saunders. You know, he just came inside and it looked to me quite risky when he was doing it, but once he let his hands go, his strength really told. And I think, you know, if he can do that to Billy Joe Saunders, he can do it to Terence Crawford. So Crawford's going to have to really use his quick feet. He has very good movement, left and right, back and in and out with his feet, and long arms, which he can use to unsettle any attacks. That I think as soon as he sees Canelo set his feet, Crawford's got a boom, pop a jab, or if it's going to be southpaw, pop a jab, and off he goes, or spin out, moving not in straight lines. He needs to move off to the side and keep pumping and keep the volume of his work controlled very much, where he doesn't get drawn into brawling with Canelo, because I think that's a recipe for disaster. But he has to be busy enough and move enough to keep Canelo working at long range. I think Canelo is going to basically try and do the opposite. He's going to try and keep Crawford moving and working. I think there could be a betting opportunity here, because I definitely, I mean, Crawford as a boxer is a work of art. He's brilliant. His jab is beautiful. And I fancy Crawford to nick a lot of the early rounds. He might win the first 3 or 4 rounds. So if you've got in-play betting, if you're going to bet on Canelo, you could wait till the first 2 or 3, 4 rounds pass. The price for Canelo then will go up because he's lost the first few rounds. People will be thinking, oh, you know, this is all going very well for Crawford. But I don't think Canelo will mind losing those early rounds, because what he's effectively going to do, I think you'll notice you won't get like the upright Canelo moving side to side. I think you're going to get a sort of leaning forwards, getting his feet in very close as early as possible, possibly catching shots on his gloves as he moves forward, and slipping, let the shots go over, and then countering hard to the body. It's quite an unusual situation because Canelo is naturally the bigger man in terms of bulk and weight, but he has a height disadvantage and a reach disadvantage, and I think in the early rounds Crawford will use that to maximum effect. I think what Canelo's got to do is make sure that even if he loses rounds, in terms of energy, he's taking big chunks of energy out of Crawford with every round, every moment, in fact, of every round. He needs to keep Crawford working and keep him unhinged and off balance, and things that tire the opponent out. Because Bud Crawford has got faster and slicker feet, Canelo has to really make sure that by moving forwards, he comes close, and once he's in close, he sticks to Bud Crawford and let his punches come round the back, round the side. They haven't all got to hit perfectly on the target. That's what I'm saying. He has to come and just beat Crawford up so that Crawford is forced to start taking risks and come forwards himself and try to push Canelo back, which I'm sure he's going to do. I think you've got a fight where Crawford, they're both impeccable professionals. They're brilliant boxers, the pair of them. But I think because Canelo's been at that level where he is adored in his home country in Mexico, he's like a national standout figure, sporting figure. He's already had all the accolades. He's had all the glorification, if you like. And Crawford, I feel like he's a brilliant boxer. He's achieved a phenomenal amount. I mean, when he first won a world title, it was here in the UK. He came and boxed Ricky Burns. And I'd already been watching Crawford for quite some time. And I remember, I love any fight that's ambidextrous, that can fight left-handed and right-handed, I love straight away. I think all boxers should learn left-handed and right-handed fighting. But okay, so he came over to Scotland, to the Lion's Den, to box Ricky Burns, and Ricky Burns, decent, well-accomplished fighter himself, but he just smashed his way through Ricky Burns. And sometimes, you get away decisions and stuff like that, but it wasn't a fight where anyone was really thinking there's any chance of that happening here. It was so one-sided. And Ricky Burns gave him a good fight, competitive, but straight away we could tell, well, Crawford is in that level. He's certainly comfortable at that level. He's above that level, really. How far can he go? We don't know yet, but he looked brilliant. And since then, if you look at the opponents he's beat, Jeff Horn, former world champion from Australia, Victor Postol, who beat a guy I managed, he beat Sam Rakundo, Henry Lundy, decent, tough, maybe not top world class, Sean Porter, who Kell Brook beat for the world title, David Avanesian, managed by my good mate Neil Marsh, and then lately Israel Madrimov. These are all fights against very high level opponents where Crawford has come out on top. Israel Madrimov, I think, maybe gives an indication of what could happen in this fight, because Israel Madrimov, they boxed at 12 stone. Sorry, at 11 stone. They boxed at 11 stone. And this is at 12 stone. And Madrimov seemed like, strength-wise, he might have a bit too much for Crawford. Well, he did have too much for Crawford at times. And I thought, maybe this is my cynical mind, but I thought maybe they do that if imagine you're managing or you're training Terence Crawford, and you know that there's a fight possibility down the line with Canelo, and you want Canelo to take that fight. Okay, go and make it look like you're struggling with the strength. Because I actually thought this when Usyk boxed Bellew. He seemed to be containing him every second, but keeping him working. And then when he wanted to, he just stepped up the pace and stopped him. But I thought that performance might have encouraged Anthony Joshua to make the fight with him, or Eddie Hearn, to go ahead with it. And the same, I thought here with the Bud Crawford, struggling a bit against Israel Madrimov at 11 stone, which was a step up in weight for Crawford, and then to move up to 12 stone, an extra 14 pounds. You'd think, well, and also they're going to weigh in at 12 stone, but 24 hours later, Alvarez is going to be way bigger. So maybe that encouraged them to make the fight. But look, Crawford can, boxing-wise, he's... I mean, if they were the same size, in a second I'd go for Crawford. But they're not the same size, naturally. And I think that there might be a betting opportunity here, because you might be able to bet on in play. And if you bet in play and Crawford wins the first 3 or 4 rounds, which I almost expect him to, the price might go up for Canelo for Alvarez. And if you bet after 3 or 4 rounds at the higher price, you'll get a very good price. And I think that's where Canelo will start to take over the fight after those early 3 or 4 rounds of play. What's important technically and tactically for Alvarez, for Canelo, is that he takes enough out of Crawford early on. And to do that, he needs to not concentrate just on hitting on the target. He needs to hit anywhere on the body, basically, that causes Terence Crawford to have to keep working at a high pace, throwing a high volume of punches and putting a lot into those punches, trying to get Canelo off him, so that in the final half, the second half of the fight, Canelo can start closing down the ring space, coming inside, and win the later rounds. Whether he could stop Crawford, I mean, look, Crawford has been caught by Jeff Horn, caught by Sean Porter, David Avanesian, Israel Madrimov. All these guys caught him and seemed to have impact when they caught him. And Canelo clearly is a bigger puncher than them, but it's just whether he can stop Crawford, because I think Crawford's feet are brilliant. His footwork, his movement, his capabilities of avoiding punishment are brilliant. And I think we might see a situation where Canelo is going to have to turn it into almost like a street fight in there, because I think if he just pure boxes Crawford, he comes second. I think if they were the same size, and I definitely think he would come second. But here I think he needs to make it a rough fight, a taxing fight, a tiring fight. And as much as he can, he needs to turn it into a brutal war of attrition. And, they're both going to get a huge amount of credit, I think, for this fight because of the viewing numbers that are going to be seen through Netflix. And it'll be a risk worth taking for both of them, because their stock's going to rise through fights like this. This is a crossover fight in many different ways. And that's what we're going to see. So, look, I'm actually going to go, my prediction is going to go, I'm saying Canelo on points. I actually think that Crawford will have enough smarts to get him through the later rounds, even if he doesn't have the strength to keep up his boxing for 12 rounds against a bigger man. But listen, guys, if you've enjoyed watching the blog, please hit the like and subscribe button, and I will be back on before too long. Thanks for watching. See you then.